Hey everyone, it's Dan Young with Exponential Growth Systems, and I appreciate you tuning in here today. So today's topic is Teamless Team, or why do you want a team? So I get this question a lot. I am a solo agent, I want to start a team, or I have a team and I'm thinking about disbanding my team. I'm thinking about expanding my team. What are the different structures? Who should I hire next, et cetera, et cetera. So let's talk about this because I have a kind of a unique approach to this. So the first question you should always ask yourself is, why do you want a team? So when I ask most people that have a team or that desire to have a team, they say, well, I want more time, or I want more money, or, both. And that's fair. But I got to tell you, there are many times when I ask someone who has a team that does a lot of sales but isn't very profitable, I'll ask them, why is it that you have a team? And they'll think about it and I'll say, do you have a team for the sake of having a team, right? Or do you have a team for a particular purpose? And they kind of have to rethink that through, because it is possible for the ego to take over and just say, I want to have this giant team for the sake of winning awards and things like that, even though it's really not funding your life by design. So a team is nothing more than a form of leverage. So we leverage ourselves with people, marketing, and technology. I learned that from Michael Gerber and the E-Myth years ago. And our businesses typically are a blend of systems-dependent and people-dependent kind of models, right? And in our case, when we're talking about team, we're really looking more toward the people-dependent models on this particular video. So, because you can leverage yourself more with tech, but we're going to get into just the people part of it. So, if you own a McDonald's, you own a franchise, you don't want to be the one making the fries, taking the orders, cleaning the floors, making the shift, buying supplies, etc. That's not why you bought a franchise. Sure, you might have to fill in for some of those things from time to time, but that's not the goal. In our business, a lot of people, that's not the goal either. Like, there are a lot of things that they don't want to do in the business. Quite frankly, there are a lot of things in this business that I don't enjoy now, and I haven't in the 26 plus years that I've been doing this. So I love to outsource those particular things. Thankfully, we have a model where we can do that. We have the flexibility in this model to have the leverage and have a team and have almost like a brokerage within a brokerage, or we can be a solo agent and not have to worry about many of those things. So again, ask yourself, why do I really want a team? I mean, if it's so you don't want to miss another game, hey, fantastic. You want to travel more without being interrupted? I get it. So think about that. What's your goal? And then you can structure your team around that. So let's look at some typical structures that we see in our business, and let's address them in terms of profitability. The most profitable structure I've seen is a partnership, and that is two agents working together. And especially, and even more specifically, if you have two spouses living in the same household, because then you've got two incomes and one set of expenses. So that's a great model. But a partnership, even with just two agents, can be very lucrative. Now, the challenge is everything's great until it's not. So just make sure that you have a good exit strategy should things not go as you hope. Right? And when I talk about exit strategy, I'm talking about a written exit strategy to disband the partnership and move on. So partnership is here. And next is a solo agent with an admin. Because if you're a solo agent and you have an admin, you can outsource a lot of those $15 an hour activities, I like to call them, and you can concentrate on the $400 an hour activities. And I'll get to more of that here in a moment. And then a solo agent with an agent, and then you have just solo agent, right? Which is the majority of it, just solo agent. By the way, just side note, you could call yourself a team or a group as a solo agent and do so in total honesty, because you do have a team of people, whether it's your lender, your title company, they're part of your team, right? Your brokerage typically will have an admin, a broker, and they have a support staff to help you with that, right? So you do have a team or a group. So even to the public, if you wanted to present yourself as a team or a group as a solo agent, you could absolutely do that with a straight face and be right in doing so. So you've got partnership, solo agent with an admin, solo agent, and then way down here is team. So why is it so far down there in terms of profitability? because as you grow your team, there are a lot of expenses that come with that. Especially if you're the rainmaker and you're doing the lead generation and all the expenses that are associated with the systems, having admins behind the scene, all of those things, those expenses creep up. And by the way, a lot of the calls I get right now are teams that have a lot of expenses because when the market's really hot, it tends to hide inefficiencies. When it starts cooling off a little bit, you start seeing where some of that money is being wasted, and it's a good practice to call to question all of those expenses. It should be done, I believe, on an annual basis anyway, but sometimes we get sloppy. So having a mega team can be very, very costly. And you have to break through that barrier to when you're outrunning any business. The goal is that your revenue outruns your expenses, right? But you want to have a lifestyle, so you want it to outrun and have a really nice margin, so you can enjoy that lifestyle and not be spending all of your time babysitting your team, because then as Robert Kiyosaki talks about, then you don't have a business, you have a job. Okay. By the way, a great book, The Cash Flow Quadrant. That's my annual read. Every single December I read that. So my background, real quick, just so you know where I'm coming from. I've been in the business 26 plus years. I started as a solo agent. I started a team when I hired a coach. They coached me how to start a team. That was back in the early 2000s. Team did very well. I grew it to the point where I had a buyer's agent. I had two buyer's agents, an admin, a listing agent. They didn't have virtual assistants and things like that, unfortunately, back then. And it was very costly. So even though it was starting to generate more revenue, for the amount of work that it took, I just knew there had to be a better way to do it, and there was a better way to leverage. And I really wasn't enjoying that segment of it. So I went and I bought a RE/MAX franchise, thinking that would be more leverage. I don't recommend the franchise route. Friends don't let friends buy franchises, and if you're thinking about it, please give me a call. I'm happy to talk with you. That's not a dig on RE/MAX by any means, because I've also purchased a C21 franchise, and I've talked to a lot of franchise owners over the years where in this business you don't need it. They're a relic of the past in my estimation, but that's a whole other conversation. So I had a RE/MAX franchise, a Century 21 franchise. I've been an independent broker. I went to Keller Williams as a team leader there, became a MAPS coach, learned quite a bit as a MAPS coach. And by the way, credit where credit is due. The Millionaire Real Estate Agent book is a fantastic reference if you're growing a team on who you should hire, when, and that sort of thing. I learned a lot after the fact, after having my team, on where I made some errors in growing it. So I became a MAPS coach. Then I became the original VP for the largest Ohio independent company. And the only reason I'm saying that is one, I don't like to take advice from people that have not achieved at least 10x what I have. So I wouldn't want you to do that either. I want you to know that this is coming from the heart. It's coming from experience. It's coming from the school of hard knocks, what I'm sharing with you today. So, but what I did learn over that time was I have a love for leadership. I have a love for training and consulting. The production side, I have a like for it, not a love. But, I found that the income is really in the production side, right, in the sales. So I quickly had to learn how to become proficient in the sales part if I wanted to maintain the lifestyle that we enjoyed. So an example, I now teach a class on how to make six figures a year working less than 5 hours a week. Now, the only way I can do that is because I have mastered leverage over time. And mastered is the wrong word. I'm still working on that, but I'm really good at it. All right. So with that said, let me share with you my structure on what I call TeamlessTeam, right? So my first hire, and I think everybody's first hire should be a transaction coordinator. They're the best money you could possibly spend. I think the day you get your license, you should be hiring a transaction coordinator. They're $300 to $350 a file in most markets, I find, from the agents that I talk to across the country, including here in my market, Cincinnati. They take care of all the paperwork, the scheduling, the underwriter says we need this, the underwriter says they need that, you get stiffed to death. you don't have to worry about that $15 an hour activity. Because a side note, I've had many times when agents came into me and said, I'm doing all this stuff and I'm not making any money. I don't know what's going on. And I'll say, okay, let's sit down and go through what you're doing. And they'll say, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. Okay, great. Now, if you had to replace yourself, what it would cost? And they say, well, if I did this, it'd be $15 an hour, it'd be $15 an hour. If I did this, if I did the lead generation, it'd be $400 an hour, blah, blah. And I'd say, okay, what's wrong with this picture? Well, they're doing $15 an hour activities for the most part. That's the reason they're not making $400 an hour. So my rule is, if it's not a $400 an hour activity, it doesn't go on my calendar. There you go, right? Not rocket science. So transaction coordinator, must hire. Do it today. If you don't have one, do it today. Secondly, showing agents. I went out and found some hungry agents that are fantastic agents that love to show properties and work with buyers. Something I don't enjoy. Fantastic, great match. I pay them just flat out 25% at closing. So it doesn't matter if they show one property. It doesn't matter if they show 25 properties, 25%. And I've trained them on my way of showing properties and my way of finding properties, right? That way there's consistency. And they know that is my client. So when they address the client, they know that this is, I'm representing the Dan Young Group with this client. And so there's no hassle there. There's no concern about after the sale, right? That's still my client, and I still continue to service that client. So that works very well. So essentially, I spend my time doing lead generation, doing appointments, and negotiating contracts. Everything else in the process, which just happen to be the things I don't enjoy, somebody else is doing it. Pretty cool, right? I have virtual assistants to help me with a lot of the techie stuff that I just don't have time to do, with the patience or the skill. I just don't, once upon a time, I enjoyed getting into the little nitpicky stuff. But now I know if it's not a $400 an hour activity, when the reality is there's probably a virtual assistant in Africa, the Philippines, or somewhere that'll do it for $4 an hour. So there you go. I believe it's massively critical to have a competent support team, meaning your lender, your title company, your inspectors. You got to make sure that they're highly competent in what they're doing. Our standards are what we tolerate. So you need to make sure that you are not tolerating much at all, right? Because you don't have time to take care of those little details as they come along. Make sure that they are competent. In other words, if I know that the lender that I use, I've been working with him for over 5 to 8 years now. 100% of the files that he has pre-approved have closed on time or faster for me. 100%. I'm almost wishing that one didn't, because that stat just sounds unbelievable, right? And you can bet I use that when we're in multiple offer situations to drive that point home. So make sure you have a competent support team. And I have an extended team. It's a network of agents across the country that I refer to. And by the way, I collect referral income on everything they close, which is kind of cool. And I can show you how I do that too in another conversation. Here's the bottom line. We all have 3 freedoms that we pursue. Well, the freedom to spend money on things that we want, the freedom to spend time on things that we want to spend time on, and the freedom to spend both money and time with the people that we want to spend it with. So the freedom of relationship. So freedom of money, freedom of time, and freedom of relationship, as Dan Sullivan would say. And when I talk about freedom of relationship, I'm not just talking about in our personal lives. I'm also talking about in professional lives. I'm very blessed that I get to work with the people that I want to work with, and you can't replace that. So look, let's have a call and find out what your goal really is. Let's find out what structure would be best suited for where you want to go, like where you are now. It doesn't matter where you are now, whether you're just restarting right now, or maybe you're a mega agent and you're thinking, is there another path? Let's talk about that. I've helped a lot of people in that regard. So if you're looking to start a team, great. I'll show you how to structure it. If you're thinking of leaving a team, great. Let's have that conversation too, to see if that's the right thing to do, if it's the right timing. Because a lot of people don't leave teams because they're concerned about, how am I going to get my next deal, especially in a slowing market, right? By the way, there are opportunities in every market, and I can show you how to capitalize on those. Most of it is mindset anyway, so we'll walk you through that. So, and let's talk about our partner program, where, look, I'll provide you all the tools that a team leader would provide you if you are on a team. And if you're thinking about starting a team, I can show you all the tools we provide you so you can start your team. And we do that without any huge splits. And no, you're not but when I talk about partnering, I'm not saying come be on the Dan Young Group. No, I want to build your brand. I want to show you how to build your brand, because that's all that counts. So yeah, go to TeamlessTeam.com. Jump on my schedule for a free, no obligation strategy, or I like to sometimes call it an unstuck call if that's the case. And let's get you going to the next level. Let's make sure you've got incredible momentum going into the next year, so that when the next year is here, which won't be long, there's nothing better, no better way to start a new year than having momentum rolling in from the previous, right? Dan Young, Exponential Growth Systems. Thank you for your time. Be blessed, my friend.